Jonathan Gibralter. I'm president of Wells College, and I'm honored to be here today with Colleen Boland, retired senior master sergeant, United States Air Force, who is now a climate activist, and recently just spent several days in jail for actions in opposition of Seneca Lake and fracking in New York State, and has also been very active in the Dakota pipeline opposition. And I want to thank you for coming to Wells College.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
I'm interested in understanding kind of the transition that went on in your heart and in your mind that led you from the United States military to become then an activist against what's going on in our society today.
Well, it was kind of a long path, actually. While I served in the military, I traveled to, I had the blessing and the opportunity to travel to over 20 countries throughout the world, including Syria. And most of those places that we traveled to, there was contaminated water, lack of water, sick people, sick children. And that taught me, post-military, looking back at it, I saw this is a real threat to them, and so I had a window into a world that very few people have. I understood what poverty and extreme poverty was, and so that informed my activism. But then I saw Gasland, Josh Fox's film. Once you know something, you can't unknow it. Then I heard Sandra Steingraber speak. Once you hear Sandra Steingraber's call to action, it's hard to say no. So from that point in time, it was something that I felt compelled to do. And sometimes I regret that. It's tiring business. Sometimes it's very futile, but it's something that is so important. Climate crisis that we're in is, I truly believe, is the greatest threat to humanity that we've ever faced.
Right now, today, I think many people feel an enormous sense of despair about what's going on in the United States government and how that will ultimately impact our environment. What would you say to young people today to inspire them to stand up and do the right thing? Because I too believe we're at grave risk.
Well, the thing that I would tell them is to watch this, to really understand what is happening with this administration. If they don't already know, they need to look under the rocks. They need to look under every one of these cabinet picks and understand who that is and what their view is on the environment. And it's a crime. And I don't say that off the cuff. It's a crime, the views that they're holding. They're tied to the fossil fuel industry. They're tied to Russia. It's just unconscionable. And it doesn't matter. They want to shut down the EPA. So first, if they're not in tune with that, they need to get in tune with it. Once they get in tune with that and they understand they're going to do what, they'll take it from there. Yeah. They've got the energy to be mad and angry. And then they need to resist. They need to find their niche. There's going to be marches all over the place. There are senators to call. There are people down in Washington, apparently, to write to. They just need to organize. And there's a new term now being called huddle up, where because it's such an overwhelming issue, and we're being assaulted from every 2 hours, we're assaulted with new information, to not try to look in the big picture, but just huddle up on campus. Figure out, have a study group if you will. Figure out what's going on. And then say, okay, what are we going to do about it? Start small. Start on the streets. Go to a bank that's involved with the fossil fuel industry. Tell them no. Tell them hell no. So I think that students' energy has always been a driver in this country.
My former campus was in the western part of Maryland in the mountains, and all around my campus there were strip mines. They were taking the tops off mountains and leaving them dead. And it always mystified me that our students weren't more active in opposing what was going on. And we saw Gasland. We previewed it right on Main Street, Gasland 1 and Gasland 2. And our students just were very not invested. They were not taking an activist stand against what was going on. So Colleen, I wonder, for the last couple of weeks since the new administration took place, it just doesn't seem like they care about what the people say or think. What do you say
people
to young
in Washington?
Yeah, they don't seem to care. What do you tell young people to inspire them not to give up?
This country has always had issues. This one is a little darker than we've ever faced, I do. Women's rights issue, civil rights, abolitionism. It's always been there. Those are dark times. But the way that we always found our way out of those dark times was to hit the streets. And so now, because of the magnitude of the insult and the complete, you absolutely nailed it on the head, is they don't care. They care about their wallets. That's it. This is a very few people getting very, very rich. So, kids need to, again, they need to be educated. They need to understand what this is. They need to understand what it means when Mr. Trump pulls us out of the climate agreement that 197 countries have signed on to, and they look to us for leadership. And so that's an obligation on you as educators to at every opportunity bring in people to talk about it. I'm grateful to be one of the first people to speak in this speaker series.
Sure.
But just keep banging it home. I think young people are really starting to get it. What is this climate thing?
Sure.
I really think there's a turn going on that people recognize.
I'm on my way to Tempe, Arizona on Saturday, and I'm actually one of the original signatories of what used to be called the American College and University Presidents Climate Commitment. It's now second nature. And there's a sense of, and there'll be 200 college presidents there. So what message would you want me to send to those college presidents?
Well, one that similarly I gave to you is that, again, the history of the Academy has always served to be an incubator for knowledge and action and science. Unfortunately, how quickly did the science disappear from government websites? We can't find climate change information. So our academies and our learning institutions have to be vigilant, and they have to be bold. They have to be very, very brave. It's a dark time for you folks. I don't envy you right now. You're scrapping for dollars, and the threat of losing funds, I would not want to be you. But it is no time to be afraid. I mean, we've seen in Washington rogue people from the State Department, from the EPA, from the Department of Defense, and from the White House itself, leaking out information so we know what's going on. They're being brave. We have to be brave.
So the message is, don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Stand up for what's right, and nonviolent resistance, but people need to come together in groups, huddle up, and their voice has to be eventually heard.
It resonates. It resonates. And, we have, not to be afraid, we have a bully in the White House. And he's counting on us being afraid. That's what bullies do. They want to make you afraid. Mr. Bannon wants to make us afraid. He wants to make his followers afraid. We can't give them that. If we give them that, we lose.
Thank you very much.
Rise up.
Thank you
Resist.
for being here.